some amazing car preparation here. We're going to see S2000. We're going to see Porsche 914. We're going to see a turbo Pontiac Solstice. So, I mean, just in those cars, we've got the newest car in the class appears to be the 2007 Pontiac Solstice by Alex Jones. That, by the way, a manufacturer no longer in business. The oldest car in the class appears to be the 72 Porsche 914-6 of Tom O'Gorman. And actually O'Gorman drive that car, I believe, belongs to his co-driver. So I'm going to try to remember that throughout the day. And I don't see that O'Gorman has a co-driver. So, okay, Montgomery went to STS. So David Montgomery, the Montgomery family owns that car. O'Gorman running as a single driver in the 914-6. Avons and Hoosiers in that class. I think we're going to have a really good idea how this class is going to go this week based on the first couple of runs today. And I've got a worker chief with a naughty list. Let's see who we've got. Robert Thorne from BSP, his co-driver in BSPL just wrapping up. So, Robert, as soon as you can, please check in. And then Del Long, we're looking for Del Long, running a modified. Delmer, if you can get checked in, that would be great. The worker chief holding a green clipboard, wearing a khaki hat, and making his way back from the announced vehicle right now. So Mike Johnson, the owner of Evolution Performance Driving School, he's helping out, putting together the Evo Test and Tune every day. He's competing at Nationals. He's an announcer. He's supporting his wife and son in their classes. Got a little bit going on this week. Mike, what did you do first heat today?
We went out and played as a course worker. It looked like they were a little short-handed, and right out here in the center, there's a nice little four-cone wall that on those first runs folks like to take away with them. So I was watching the poor workers out there running quite a bit, and I figured they needed a hand, so we did so. Mary Clements and myself both volunteered, and I think that might have saved a rerun or two towards the middle part of that heat.
Real quick, Robert Thorne, if you can hear me, we need you to check in right now. Robert Thorne, come on in. Mike, we were talking about it this morning, the worker situation this year at Nationals, the numbers down a little bit. And we really appreciate you going out and helping out with working course, and we're going to ask for other folks to help throughout the day. You're a driving instructor, obviously, work together a lot. When you work course, what are you looking at? What are you seeing? What are some advantages to taking that time out there?
Well, I tell you, one of the things that really paid on this course, and we'll use Alexandra Zust as the example, she really was smooth as she could be and really showed it in her results. She wasn't the most aggressive, she wasn't the fastest in sections, but altogether she came in and she's sitting firm in the trophies right there, and that's really a test to her patience out there. And you see that a lot with the ladies. Us guys get that red mist going and we want to charge everything. And there's a lot of sections out here, not just on this course, but the other, where if you charge into it, you're really going to pay on the back end of it.
So, folks, that's Mike Johnson. Mike has about 2 free heats all week and spent one of them today volunteering as a course worker. If you're in the stands, if you're watching, if you'd like to get a better view of the course or just help out the event and keep us running smoothly, our worker chief is here at the announce vehicle with a green clipboard. Come and talk to him and volunteer for for a heat and help things out. That is really going to make a difference in how our event goes today. David White. We're looking for David White from Street Modified and Kathy Barnes from Street Modified. Ladies, are you kidding me? I know Kathy's working. There's no way Kathy's not working. So again, if out this heat, you want to watch this course, you want to see the action up close, we could definitely use 1 or 2 more course workers in any heat today on either course. So if you're available and interested, I will tell you right now, the more course workers we have, the quicker we are to adult beverage o'clock. And that is the mission of my day. Speaking of guys...
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
So here at the announce car, we've got a little moment. We have a living legend in the sport of solo. Dick Berger, there's, I believe, are there 600 percenters now, Dick? 700 percenters. 7 drivers that have competed in every single solo nationals. To put that in perspective, Dick and his 600 percenter buddies have taken as many national championship runs in their career as we will run today on the West Course. The total runs for those 7 is the same as a single day of running at Solo Nationals. Dick, I hear there's a very interesting car in this heat today. What can you tell me about it?
One of the cars in FP, Tony Giordano's Datsun, it's actually a 240Z, ran the first event in St. Louis in 1973. So I guess there's some kind of a karma about keeping those old cars, and I think Charlie Clark's Corvair is also one of the 2 cars here that actually ran the courses in 1973.
Now, I know that I'm pulling real hard here and asking you to think all the way back to 1973, but I'm guessing these were not F-prepared and C-prepared cars at that point in time. No, I think Tony's car might have been a prepared car, but I think it was A. And Charlie's car, I think, was B mod. But it was the same Corvair, and, it's just, it looks a little cleaner today. Now, Dick, 41 trips to Solo Nationals. You have been at every single one. You have really kind of built a reputation for yourself as the grandfather of C Prepared, or the father of C Prepared, or pick a paternal character of C Prepared, and that's you. I have to ask, what is the draw? What brings you back every year? What makes this event? I believe you told me once that you had missed several close family members' weddings to attend autocrosses. What keeps you going?
It's all of you people that come to this event. It's, I've got 25,000 family members around the country that I see this weekend. And so, I'm sorry, having a family wedding? Yeah, we'll come here.
All right, Dick. Well, thank you for your time, and come back and see us anytime. And folks, if you see Dick Berger, he's wearing the C Prepared shirt, shaking Mike Johnson's hand right now. Thank him for everything he's done for the sport. He's one of the past Johnson Spirit of the Sport Award winners. He's put on C Prepared parties, and just don't ask to see his racing credentials. Whatever you do, that's not what you want to see. Mike Johnson back at the announced vehicle. We're getting ready to go live here at F-Stock. This is a class you have a little bit of history with. What do you think? Kevin Younger's running the class this year. Mike Wood out of California in the Mustangs. I expect to see those guys battling. Any East Coast names I'm missing?
The guy I'm going to watch is Brian Burdett. Brian been an ESP for years, drove the same 95 Camaro for goodness gracious, I think since 94 when he bought the thing. Actually, it was 94 or 95, I'm not sure. He's talking about going to CP, by the way, Dick Berger, so you better watch out in the future for Burdett. But this weekend, we're really going to watch out for Brian. He's been great all up and down the East Coast for years, just moved to Texas. I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's the guy to watch. Younger's always interesting to drive. The problem with Younger's is, can he stay clean an entire weekend? I'm not sure, or week. I'm not sure that he can do it, but he does have the ability, that's for sure.
Now, obviously, you drive a lot of cars throughout the course of the year, and I'm hoping that I'm not walking down a dead-end path, but there's 2 very different Mustangs sitting in grid, the Shelby GT and then the new 5-liter. I'm assuming you've driven both those cars. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between those 2?
I think the Shelby GT is kind of like, I call it ESP Light. There's no motor, got a lot of handling there. Unfortunately for them, they've got the 5-liter out now, and that's got a whole lot of motor. Brian Peters showed last year that the Shelby clone could get it done, but honestly, I think Brian could have done it in either car, and I think that Mark Daddio probably felt the same way. Mark just buying the better of the 2 in his eyes last year, and then after the fact questioning that, I'm sure. My money would be on the 5-liter, personally.
Well, it looks like we're about to go live. I got one more question for you. Talk a little bit about what you guys at Evolution Performance Driving Schools have going this week at Nationals for competitors.
Well, every year at Nationals, the folks at the Nebraska region offer us a 12 to 2 o'clock test and tune for folks. So got a few spots maybe left over the next couple days, but we like to just help people out. We don't force ourselves on people. If they want to just get seat time, that'll work. And if they want to get a pointer here or there, we can do that as well. But none of that could be done without the folks from BF Goodrich Tires, and they've been helping us a lot this year, helping get out the word on the rivals, and we've had a lot of people trying them out. In fact, we've got Mike King driving on a set all weekend. He just jumped on a set to see what they're all about, and we encourage all of you all to try them out. Big thanks also to the Tire Rack and BFG for supporting this sport like they do. Hayward, action has started. Who do we have going out here? Looks like FP car 16 on the course.
Yeah, we are starting off with F Prepared, so bringing the big guns early, and that is Garrett Mosler out of Greer, South Carolina, in the 2000 Honda S2000, the Frankenstuck, as it's known. Learn all you want to know about that car at frankenstuck.com. And a little tail out coming to the finish for the Frankenstuck. 16 car to the finish, first time in, a 53.779, 53.779 for the Frankenstuck. And that is our first time in F Prepared. Next in F Prepared, this is going to be Eric Davis in a 2004 Mazda Speed Miata. Davis in the 26 car, he's in on a 59023, 59023 for Eric Davis. Behind Davis will be Federico Del Toro in the Porsche Boxster S. Federico out of San Antonio, Texas, a 2001 Boxster. This may become the car to have in this class into the finish of 56.041, 56.041, so that's going to slot him behind Garrett Mosler, your leader at the moment. Next to finish will be Lucas Anderson in the 73 Datsun, and behind him is Tony Giordo in the Nissan 280. This is the car that Dick Berger was talking about, the car competing in the very first Solo Nationals and here this year. 47 car into the finish. That is Lucas, a 57.847, 57.847 for Lucas. And Eric Davis will be next to finish. I'm sorry, no, Tony will be next to finish in the 280Z. Again, this is the car Dick Berger was talking about as a first year at Nationals car. A 64.4 is the time in for Tony. Out on course now, Darren Cozier in the RX-7. Darren tripping the lights in the 63 car, a time in 59.551, 59.551. And right behind Darren will be Donnie Bartolone in the MR2, as we've got two of our contenders on course right now, Henry Bjorn and Chris Ragland out on course now. Time in for Donnie +3 on a 56.186, 56.186 +3 for Donnie Bartolone. And all three of the contending cars out on course right now. Henry Bjorn, your defending national champion in the BMW. Bjorn in on a 53.612, 53.612. That is 1/10 better than Garrett Mosler. That is your lead time right now. But behind him is Chris Ragland. Ragland, a multi-time national champion in E-Prepared, making the jump to rear drive. Ragland kind of started the Avon Tire movement, if you will, and he is out on course right now. And behind him is Tom O'Gorman. Tom with a beautiful line through that showcase corner. A lot of slip angle on the 914. Keep an eye on that car, folks. Ragland a 54.3. That's good for third. It's Bjorn, Mosler, and Ragland, your top three. Here is Tom O'Gorman. Can he put one in the books? He appears to be clean. Time in a 52.029. He is 1.6 seconds up on first runs. So a great start for the kid from Ohio. Tom O'Gorman, your leader, the full throttle indoor karting Porsche 914-6. Behind him on course is Ed George, one of the all-wheel drive cars in this course, possibly a dark horse. Towards the finish, George is going to trip the lights, a time of 57.8, but +1, so not the start that Ed George was looking for. Behind him will be Rick Martinez in the 72 Datsun Z. Rick is out of one of the Texas drivers, Road Trip Racing Team, and this is gray Datsun Z. He's got a cone as well. Time in for Rick, a 54.961. That'll slot him into 6th, even with the cone. So your order is O'Gorman, defending champ Bjorn, Garrett Mosler, Chris Ragland, and Federico Del Toro. And then Rick Martinez rounding out the trophies in F prepared after first drivers, and we are on to F stock first drivers. First in will be Terry Baker in the 2013 Ford Mustang. Baker will be your early mark in F stock, a 58.197. Terry's a guy who is quick in anything he drives. A lot of BMW seat time, also some time in Mustangs. He ran a 6-cylinder car last year in D stock, and now moving over to the big boy car in F stock as Casey Weiss will be next to finish. Weiss has one cone on this run. Casey drove a Camaro in this class for a while, finally gave in, got the Mustang, the 5-liter, and he's in with a 59.223, 59.223. I am being told that was with one cone. So Casey starting off on a scratch time. Next in will be Frederick Pascal in the BMW M3, the oft-talked about, seldom seen German F stock car. I've had the privilege of driving a couple of these this year in schools, and it is a neat car, and the time is there, a 58.2, the second quickest scratch time, but he does have a cone, only 1/10 off your leader, Terry Baker. So it's Baker, Weiss, Pascal, your leaders right now in F stock. A lot of time yet to go. Things get real quiet when you switch to F stock after the F prepared cars, so it doesn't sound as exciting, but a good pack of times there at the front as Mark Cornelius comes into the finish. He's in on a 59.072. That's good for the second spot, 9/10 off of Baker as we await Dan. I'm gonna give a shot at Holly Ricky out of Chandler, Arizona. So Dan to the finish of 58.767. If anyone wants to come tell me how to pronounce Dan's last name, I will not be trying again until I get some coaching on that one. Next to finish, this is the one that Junior Johnson said keep an eye on. This is Brian Burdett, Northeast guy moving to Texas. A lot of time in ESP, now coming over to F-Stock, and there is your top time in the class, ladies and gentlemen, a 57.449, 57.449 for Brian Burdett. A great start there for the Texas driver. Next to finish will be Brian Grabble. Brian, another one of the 5-liter cars. This one's blue, and he's slow there at the end, backside of the course. And being scored with a DNF, so making his way up the finish chute now. Hopefully there's not a mechanical issue with that car. And Brian off the course now. Scratch time somewhat irrelevant on the DNF run, and that's going to give a red flag to Brian Myers. And behind Brian Myers is Robert Godsta. And so it's going to be Myers with a rerun. And it looks like Gosta is going to be okay. So Robert Gosta is out of Brookville, Florida, the 2007 Ford Mustang GT. So we're sounding like the 79 car might have had a mechanical issue, possibly with a wheel. So we'll see what happens with that. 57 into the finish. That is Robert Gosta in with a Robert Gosta in the 91 car in with a 57.374. 57.374 for Robert. That is your new top time, 75 thousandths ahead of Brian Burdett. So it's Gosta, Burdett, Baker, your top three right now in F stock. And some heavy hitters out on course right now as Kevin Youngers takes the course. Our sweep car heading out. Jim Garden will be next. Don Knopp into the finish now. Don with a 58.609 for Don Knopp. And that is going to be good for the fourth spot. So Don Knopp up in the trophies on his first run. Don towing all the way from Lincoln, Nebraska this year in the 707 Ford Mustang. And the 97 car into the finish now. That is Jim Garden. He's in with a 57.858, 57.858. Good for third. But so good for third on a 57.858. Great run there for Jim as we now have Kevin Youngers coming to the finish now. The last of the first drivers needs a 57. He's in with a 56.595, 56.595. I'm sorry, that was Dennis Healy. the Kevin Younger's co-driver, but with one cone. So Dennis Healy with a 56.5 scratch time, a 58.5 with the cone, good for 6th. That's what I get for looking out the windshield instead of looking at the computer. So Healy out of Beaverton, Oregon, with the Thanks Kevin 2012 Ford Mustang would be your leader by a chunk if he had run it clean. But right now it's a 75 thousandths gap between Robert Garst out of Yorkville, Illinois, and Brian Burdett out of San Antonio, Texas. So we've got the sweep car out on course. Looking over at the east, I see the Jinx Jordan Street Modified front-wheel drive car out on course. Would love to get a report on how that class is shaking out. If anybody is able to pull that up and come run up here real quick, that would be cool to know. So right now we are waiting A Street Prepared Ladies as our sweep car. Kind of a leisurely sweep. I'm calling it like I see it. There's a lot of stop time there at that station. There seems to be maybe some dinner plans being made. I'm not sure exactly. I know that Bob Tennell is the chief steward over on this course, so I expect Bob to do some sweep car coaching and get us dialed in on the hot pass. That's what we're looking for. Really, Tim Arrow has set the bar in sweep car driving. If you've ever seen Tim, it's smooth, it's methodical, it's good stuff. So Mindy Cross out on course, and as she leaves the line, I'm seeing the flash of Hoosier stickers on the bottom of that car. So Mindy Cross out on sticker tires in the 2005 Mitsubishi Evo 8. Down to that bottom corner, out of the 3-cone slalom, and the big sweep on the bottom side up through the double cone gate. As I've got KJ Christopher bringing me results for SMF. So we're going to get some results here in just a second. So Mindy Cross through the showcase corner, and I like Mindy's seating position in that car. Right up on the wheel, a lot of control, down the chute. And let's see. So Street Modified F, one of the classes we are watching. Chris Hadu, your leader by 2/10 over Andy Hollis, Mike Forsyth, Sean Lawson, Chris Janis rounding out your top 5. So Andy Hollis in the second spot. Chris Hadu, a lot of people called that he would be one of the ones to watch, as Mindy Cross in with a 57.274, 57.274 for Mindy Cross, but one cone for Mindy. And that was in that very first element. Lisa Berry will be next to finish. And Lisa goes for a spin in the back corner in the Berry family car. That car saw some Street Modified time this year, and Street Mod had a nice big wing on it to keep the tail end planted. I don't know how much Lisa's driven the car without that wing, so she may be unaccustomed to the lack of aero. 65.4 the time in for Lisa. We will see big improvements from her, I have no doubt. Haley Mahone will be next to finish, and Haley in the Haley in the Mitsubishi Evo being scored on a DNF on that BFG shod car, the Evolution Dynamics STC car. So we will see an improvement for her, and then behind Haley is Megan Contreras in the MR2 out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. Clancy Schmidt, if you can hear my voice, if you'll come see me, Clancy Schmidt, if you'll come see me in the announce car. Time in for Megan is a 64.455. And there's Howard. I'll take a Howard if I can't have a Clancy. Time in for Brian Hayes, a 54.166. That's good for 4th in F Prepared. All right, time in for Brian Hayes, 54.166. That's a 4th place run at the moment, but no more as Peter LeBach comes in a 53.792, 53.792 for Peter. That is good for the 4th spot, 1/10 out of 3rd. Your margins in F Prepared. Tom O'Gorman up by 1.5, then a 10th back to Henry Bjorn, a 10th back to Garrett Moser, and a 10th back to Peter LeBach. Next to finish, this is the Michael Two's into the finish of 55.844, 55.844. Folks, I would keep Solstice. This is Alex Jones. Did real well in this car in Street Prepared, moved it over to F Prepared, and we'll see if Jones can give anything to the kid. Right now, your leader, Tom O'Gorman, by 1.5 seconds. Next in will be Nick Rivera in the MR2. Nick is carrying a cone into the final offset section, and we're going to see a time here in just a moment. Time in for Nick with a lot of lockup at the finish, a 59.293, and Jones looks conservative on this run. I'm not sure if he's just trying to get a clean one in the books or if the car is just really tight in its setup, but he looks nice and controlled into the finish offsets. He is clean thus far. Will it be a trophy time? Time in is a 54.126. That is good for fourth. So it's O'Gorman, Bjorn, Mosler, Jones, Hayes, and Ragland rounding out the trophies with one more car to go. This is Jay Storm. Jay ran FSP with Subarus for a while, then moved to F Prepared, and I don't think you can get much more different in a Subaru than those two classes. He's got a cone on a 54.295. That would be a trophy time if it were clean for Jay Storm, but the cone will put him back in the 10th spot. Our starter, Bill Goodale, removing a little piece of OPR from the start line as we have Brian Myers will be next to finish. Brian Myers in the first of the second drivers in F-Stock into the finish now. In the Shelby GT350, he's in with a time of 58.700. Robert Gosta is your leader right now by 75 thousandths over Brian Burdett. But folks, the story right now is Dennis Healy. He would be on two cones. Had he run it clean, he would be a second clear of the field. So Dennis Healy is your story right now in F-Stock. Next to finish the 117 car, that is Curtis Staples. He's in with a 60.087 for Staples. That'll put him in the top 10 in F-Stock. Eric Yee will be next to finish in the conservatively colored green Mustang out on course. As Kevin Youngers takes to the course, Youngers driving the same car as Healy. Healy with that dirty run that would have been your lead. Time in for Eric Yee, a 58.6 for Eric, 6.14. He's in your sixth and final trophy spot right now. Michael Wood will be next to finish. Michael is typically a pretty quick driver in this class, but unfortunately had a bicycle accident not that long ago, messed up a shoulder, so he's doing this one-handed. He says, I'll take you guys on one hand tied behind my back, and he's getting it done. 57.5, that is good for third right now for Michael Wood out of Alamo, California, the StrandoParts.com custom alignment 2007 Ford Shelby, and he is only a 10th behind Brian Burdett. So right now your leaders, Gustav Burdett and Wood, all separated by 0.2 of a second. Kevin Youngers into the finish, and we have a new leader. Youngers almost 0.3 clear of the field out of Greeley, Colorado, a 57.0 for Youngers. A little bit off the scratch time of his co-driver, but a great start there for Kevin Youngers. All right, next in will be Mark Snell in the BMW. He's into the trophies at 57.679, 57.6 for Mark Snell as we've got our sweep car out on course. A good pass at Station 1. A little pause, but not bad. Cleaning things up in our sweep car. Out on course now, Mark Snell just came to the finish. Christine Grice is out right now. She is the lone second driver in A Street Prepared Ladies. And definitely the one to watch here. There's a lot of history with Christine in this car, a lot of Pro Solo championships overall and in class. Definitely a target on that back. She is the one everybody's here to chase after into the finish offsets. And Grice trips the lights. Time in is a 55.9, and that is your lead. She's got about 1.5 over Mindy Cross, but Mindy also has a cone, so a big margin right now as Keith back from the grid with a quick report.
Actually, it's pretty much as you were talking about earlier with X Prepared. There's been no thrashing, nobody looking like they're trying to fix their cars. Everybody looks pretty happy with what they've got so far. real quiet, discussing where they messed up, where they didn't mess up, and where they got caught out by stuff. So even in F-Stock and ASPL, they're all looking pretty much the same. So it's pretty quiet back there right now.
A quiet grid is a happy grid. No wrenches clanging on the ground. Everybody's happy back there. So just got a report that Christine Grice had a cone on that run. So if that is accurate, the margin will be 1.3 between Grice and Cross at the front of ASP Ladies as we are into second runs. Garrett Mosler out on course right now. And folks, it's worth pointing out, we have Bill Goodale working the start line. And Bill's been a chief steward. He's been an operating steward. He's... Bill is currently sitting tied for the overall Solo Nationals trophy count at 32 trophies. 38 starts for Bill, 32 trophies. It's a pretty good average. But Bill working start for us today, so if things seem to be going really, really well, it's probably because Bill's in charge. All right, back to F prepared. Garrett Mosler had a good time out of the box on his first run. A little bobble there at the finish. A 53.5 is the time in for Garrett Mosler, and that's good for second. So Mosler moves into the second spot. It's O'Gorman, then Mosler, as Garrett's able to find 2/10 on that run. Next in will be Eric Davis, and Davis is being scored on a DNF. So Davis will not help himself with this run at all. Davis into the finish now. Time would have been a 56.9, but no help with the off course. Of course, everybody is watching the time of Tom O'Gorman, the lone 52, and it's a 52.0. Next in will be Federico Del Toro. Federico into the 53.9, and that is good for fourth. So right now it is Porsche Boxster, then BMW 328, then Honda S2000. It's a Porsche 914, then a 3828, then an S2000, then a Boxster, then a Solstice in the trophies. So a good mix of cars here in F prepared as Federico Del Toro puts the Boxster in the trophies. Tony Giordo will be next to finish. He's on a DNF. I think we're out of order maybe. So Tony's out on course now.
Repeat it. 47 FP DNF at cone 204.
And we've got a DNF called on the 47 car. So a 62.0 in for, I believe, Tony, a 62.0. Will you let... Yeah, let me... This computer. Darren Crozer will be next to finish with a 60.390 for Darren. Donnie Bartolone will be next to finish. Donnie is looking to improve on his second run in the MR2. He's into the finish. Time is a 55.930. So a big pickup there for Donnie. He finds 4 seconds and gets inside the top 10. I think we're good now. All right, folks, keep an eye on the 914 leaving the start line. This is our class leader, Tom O'Gorman, 1.5 seconds clear of the rest of the class. So O'Gorman, your leader on course as Henry Bjorn is finishing. Bjorn moves into the second spot. He finds just a 4/10, but enough to move into second. O'Gorman trying to stretch the lead in that 914. Picking up wheels, sliding the back end around. This is one of the up-and-comers in our sport. O'Gorman out on course. Next in, Chris Ragland. Ragland in with a 55.1. He slows down a little bit. So Ragland loses 0.8 from his previous best. And Tom has a cone on this run, so this will be a scratch. Let's see what the kid can do on a dirty run. O'Gorman trips the lights. Another 52.0. So O'Gorman runs 2 times within 0.7 of a second. The second one dirty. but maintaining the lead on the strength of the first run. His second run with the penalty is good for 5th. So Gorman just in a different league right now. Lots of time left, lots of drivers yet to go. But right now, this FP is the Tom O'Gorman show. Next to finish will be Ed George. George into the finish. He finds 2.9 on a 58.8. That is good for 11th. So Ed George threatening the top 10 in F prepared. Next to finish will be, let's see here, we've got Rick Martinez out of Texas in the angry 72 Datsun. The 97 car, a 54.203. That'll put Rick Martinez one spot out of the trophies and 37 thousandths out of the trophies. Right now in F prepared, if you want to win, you got to run a 51. If you want a trophy, you need to run a 53. As the trophy mark right now is a 54-1. That's the final trophy for Brian Hayes, the second driver in the Frankenstuck. Back to F stock. Terry Baker in a 58.195. 58.195 for Terry Baker. That is good for the final trophy spot at the moment in F stock. Right behind him will be Casey Weiss. Casey's a driver who's been close many times in F stock, moving over to the Mustang, the blue oval, and he's in with a 58.465. Casey's one spot out of the trophies, right behind Terry Baker on that 58.4. He is clean. Frederick Pascal will be next to finish. He is dirty on this run. He's sitting back in 15th on a dirty run previously, so he needs to clean it up on the third. Time in for Frederick is a 58.0, and unofficially that would put him in the trophies if he could do it clean. It would be the final trophy spot, so he has the time, just struggling with the cones. Next in is Mark Cornelius into the finish with a 58.1, and that'll bump Terry Baker out of the trophy. So Cornelius goes into the 6th and final trophy spot. That seems to be where the movement is right now, with Cornelius Baker and Casey Weiss all coming in right in that same ballpark, and then Frederick Pascal with the dirty run that would have been right there in the mix with them. Next to finish, this is Dan Harley in the 73 car, a 58.291, but plus 1 for Dan, so no help for him. He'll stand on his first run. And we just had a mechanical issue. We're going to be on hold for just a moment. Big E is Brian Burdett slinging the back end through the finish. Folks, we have a new leader in F-Stock, a 56.421, 56.421 for Brian Burdett, your leader by 0.9 of a second over Robert Gosta. We're going to have a hold here, but your lead in F-Stock, Brian Burdett, 56.4. To give you some perspective on that, the screaming fast scratch time of Dennis Healy was a 56.5, so Burdett has gone a 10th quicker than Healy, but done it clean. And right now, we're going to be shut down here on the west for a few minutes. It looks like we might have had a hub failure by the Mustang. I will ask, if you are not directly involved with that car, if you are not the co-drive support personnel, etc., let's give them some space to get this sorted out and figure out what's going on. We've got the response vehicle going on. From here, it appears to be potentially a hub failure. That was the car that had the slow return on the first run that the corner station reported might have had a wheel issue. So we'll see what we can find out about that. I see Chris Dorsey walking around over there. Chris, if you want to walk over here for a second. Chris Dorsey is one of the very few, very rare unanimous picks by Sports Car to take a national championship, and that is part a testament to how Chris has driven recently, and part a war of attrition, as a couple of key drivers in the class didn't make it out this year. But Chris, I know you were kind of scrapping to get everything ready this year and get out here. How are you feeling about things in E prepared this year?
You know, I felt pretty good at this point. I wish Tim Smith was here. Tim's a lot of fun to run with, and I know he's got stuff going on at home, so he needed to stick around there. But, you know, I feel pretty good.
Yeah, Tim last year came in second in the little Civic. You're back to defend your title in the Corolla. A lot of people have seen this car on course and know that it's a competitor, know that it's got a lot of potential. But can you talk a little bit about the special sauce? What makes this car unique?
And it's all right behind the driver's in the driver's seat.
Always humble, always shy. So, Chris, tell me why you're such a great driver then.
No, I wouldn't say I'm a great driver. I think, you know, over the years I've learned to be competitive, and, you know, I thrive on competition, and I think that's helped out quite a bit. This year I tried a lot of different things with the car. I felt pretty good about where we ended up at the end of the year, and I think it's good timing.
Now, I know that XP is a class that's near and dear to your heart and something that you're maybe thinking about down the road. I'm not sure if you were here during the first heat to see what was going on there, but if you were, can you tell me a little bit about your takeaways from that class?
You know, I was really rooting for Tom Elam. I've run with Tom Elam for a long time, and he's a great driver, and he's really good with setting up a car. I was really rooting for him. He was kind of the underdog this year. I think he's holding in there, but XP looks like a lot of fun, and I think it won't be too long before I get there. I think you know, maybe the PAC, maybe the SEB have some plans for rear-wheel drive cars and EP, and if something moves there, I'll probably move on to XP.
Now, one last question before we move on to our next celebrity guest. Zust leading with the Hoosier tire. Is that a surprise to you?
Yeah, not really. He set that car up for Goodyear's, and Goodyear's and Hoosiers act very similar. So I think, you know, he probably made the right choice there without making a lot of setup changes. The Avons definitely require a different driving style, require a different setup. And if you haven't spent some time on them, I could see why other tires might be faster. But in the long run, set the car up, learn how to drive them. Avons all the way.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Chris. Good luck to you this week. While we've got a little bit of downtime, let's get caught up on what's going on in the East. Our eye in the sky, Eric Hyman, here with a quick report from East Course.
Thanks, Hayward. So the downtime here might even out the courses a little bit. Looks like the times over here for the faster cars are trending, around 50s, mid-50s to low 50s. The Strano course over on the other side, we're talking 70s. That course goes on forever. Lots of drivers in some of the B-stock and shifty kind of cars talking about it running faster, if you can believe that, than when they actually walked it. Lots of people grabbing third gear a lot. And it's kind of dicey out there because you get so much speed up, you got to shut it down so many times in that course. A lot of drivers finding even during first heat, it's marbling up a little bit, and if you don't get on the binders early, you're not getting back to that go pedal anytime soon. Just off the top of my head, I believe we got Shelley Monfort on top in Super Stock Ladies. Over, I think, in SMF. I think Hollis got it done on his last run. What's that? Haydu? Okay, Haydu maybe. Okay, so I might have some bad information here, but the Hollis car looking pretty quick once he got it sorted out. But yeah, so right now that course looking pretty quick. Going to be very interesting to see the difference between the two as the day progresses.
Yeah, we're looking at results from SMF and 75-second run for our street-modified front-wheel drive. Folks, those are not slow cars, typically running close to super stock in time. Eric, you're running today on this course, correct? Tell me a little bit about what your course walks and you know, for the person out there that does not know what Eric Hyman drives, driving the GTR dubbed Godzilla with I venture to guess you could probably build a Formula One car out of the amount of carbon fiber you have on that car. When you walk this course, you're a big car, you're a heavy car. What do you see here as an opportunity for you to take an advantage, and where do you see that maybe the BMW is a little narrower or the 240 might have an advantage?
Well, actually, both courses are a little bit on the narrow side in some places. This being on the, what are we calling this year, the west side. The pavement is a bit tighter in general, so the gates tend to be a bit tighter. I think the layout here a bit more technical throughout, but oddly enough, being tight, that leaves lots of areas to woe the car up. And if you got to slow the car down, guess what? You got to speed up again. And we're very confident in our car's ability to speed up. So we're actually looking forward to this course. Surprisingly, the car handles pretty well for a big car. car on 345s. But the ladies are going to be teeing it up here in Heat 3. We're getting ready to go for our course walk once this heat is done, and can't wait to run during heat number 5. We got a really great field in Street Mod. I think we lost a couple of cars. Shout out to Shu there. I know really tough losing an engine out there at the Pro, but I know he's going to get to go run for fun in SSM, I think, in the Panda. But yeah, we're looking for the battle here. If you check out my shirt, Hayward, we got a kind of unique apparel on here. For those of you not watching from home, we've got a shirt on here with a Godzilla battling a giant panda, and we're hoping that's going to be the battle today. But I know Mike Samani is going to be in there mixing up. He's a great driver, and that's a good car as well, so it should be anyone's game. Going to be real excited to run it here in a few hours once we get back underway here.
All right, we're still working on getting our Mustang cleared here in the West. If you happen to be around the West course and in possession of a 10-millimeter wrench, I'm not sure if a socket will do it or not, but a 10-millimeter wrench apparently is the missing piece of that puzzle to get that vehicle cleared off the course. Got another guest here in a nice, subtle, bright green neon Evolution Performance Driving School. Why don't you step up to the car here, young man, Mr. Trey White. Trey, this is your 3rd year at Nationals. Is that correct? Second year at Nationals. Did okay last year. How'd you do in the Pro?
I think I drove well enough, and I got the win, so I'm proud of that.
Excellent. And you're not competing until Thursday, Friday, right?
Yes.
So what are you doing with your time? What's going on this week?
I don't know. Probably just gonna walk the course and have fun.
Anybody here supporting you? You get any help from anybody?
My dad and my mom.
What are they doing for you?
Just keeping me and telling me that I'm doing well.
A lot of support in the family, huh?
Yes, sir.
So I understand that if I understand correctly, you are a man of many sports. You've played a few sports. Can you tell me a little bit about what else you do?
I used to play football and I play basketball.
And little baseball, little track. What if you could just go out and compete in anything? Just one thing. What would it be?
Racing.
That's kind of what I figured. You have a good week, buddy. All right. Good luck. All right, we've got Eric Hyman taking some pictures. I hope we have a wrench over there. Mike Johnson up here at the window. Mike, what do you make of the news from Street Modified Front-Wheel Drive? A lot of folks threw some names out, and one's sitting on top.
Well, I tell you, it looks like it was a pretty good battle from what we see. I didn't see it being a complete, the results here on Solo Matters don't look complete as Jinx Jordan's sitting in the bottom of the pack there with no run on his final, so I'm not sure exactly if that's where he ended up, but that would be a surprise to me. I would expect to see Mr. Jordan up there, especially the fact that he's sporting Kyle Busch's wing on the top of that front-wheel drive Civic. So quick little tidbit on the Mustang sitting out there. Unfortunately, it looked like after that first run, they thought they had a mechanical. They weren't sure what was wrong with it, and came back looking under the left front corner. And unfortunately, it looks like the right front corner is where the issue was. So a little bit of info for those that are listening at home. Again, it looks like a hub failure potentially. Not quite sure. Hopefully, they're able to get that fixed. As I hear that possibly 2 of the F-Stock ladies are running in that car as well. So I can tell you, as someone who spent a whole lot of time in F-Stock, that's a great group of folks, and I'd be very surprised if those, not just these folks driving in F-Stock, but if the F-Stock ladies don't have a ride as well for later on.
Yeah, that's a great point. If you're in F-Stock and you have an available seat for F-Stock or F-Stock ladies that can keep these folks in the competition, maybe start dusting off the side of the car where the one's going to go, because these folks are probably not going to have this car up and running this heat, and I don't know that they'll have it up and running next heat for the ladies' heat either. So if you have a seat that's available, let's see what we can do for it. Mike, let's jump ahead a little bit. Larry McLeod is calling the East this afternoon for Superstock. He threw out a number that I just can't believe. There are 37 Superstock drivers that collectively have 43 national championships. Can you even wrap your brain around that?
That's crazy, especially when you think Salerno's not here, and there's another couple of Superstock championships there, or not just Superstock national championships, but that's at least 3 more championships. That's pretty awesome, actually. It was great to see Gary come out, who over the few years in that Viper hasn't really showed the results that we have seen or expect at the National and Pro Solo, to come back and win in that. He said, he looked at me the other day and he said he looked at that Pro Solo course and smiled and said, "Yeah, finally."
Well, Gary's a class act, and you know that you are a legend in the sport of autocross when people use your name as a definition, when a run is named after you, and oftentimes, particularly on the West Coast, when you see that run that's kind of boring to watch and not terribly exciting, and then the time comes in and it's a second faster than the rest of the class, that is a Gary Thomasson run, and that is textbook Gary Thomasson. Keith Marks here at the announced vehicle, my backup for this heat. Been hanging out in grid. What's going on back there? Are folks taking an opportunity with this time to change anything?
Thanks, Hayward. Well, in F Prepared, it's pretty quiet. The biggest change I've seen was they added some fuel to the O'Gorman ride. Actually, F-Stock is the biggest change I've seen so far. Terry Baker narrowing up his front tires from a 315 to a 295. I guess they were getting a little pushy under the heat, and so he's taking the opportunity to narrow those up. But other than that, it's really quiet out there, and it's hard to fathom that this is a national championship we got going on.
The whole morning has kind of had a calm to it, with the exception of that Jason Collette, Mark Osgood hub failure. Osgood on his second run got a good clean run in the books, got his time slip, and then immediately stopped the car knowing something just wasn't right. And when everybody got over there, it had been a ball joint failure, and Mike Johnson, working course, heard it at the finish. And a classic national story. A couple of Collette's buddies jump on a golf cart, run back to the 19th row, pick up a ball joint and a bag full of tools, and Robert Thorne, with a lot of experience with S2000s, comes over, and right there in the finish area, right past the finish area, Collette and a couple other folks got that car put back together, back on the ground, used 9 of the 10 minutes on the mechanical, rolled to the line, and the car never lost a run. And I believe, let me take a look at the results, but in X Prepared, you've got Jason Collette sitting in 4th and co-driver Mike Osgood in 6th. So busted a hub and kept both drivers in the trophies. And there's some pretty good margins there at the front of the field. I don't know that they'll compete for the championship, but they will absolutely compete for trophies tomorrow. So a great story there. Yeah, and so it looks like the Mustang is moving, and looks like we're doing the dolly method. And you just hate to see that happen to someone anywhere, but particularly here at Nationals. Mike, what I've got here, we got 1.5 runs in the book in F Prepared, and I have not said anything really about this before now because I didn't want to jinx it, but he's doing well enough that I feel comfortable talking about it. Tom O'Gorman is really putting the punctuation mark on a dream season this year. He's a 2.5 clear of the class on his first run. He's got to go tomorrow and get clean runs in. He's got one more run today. We're a long, long way from this being over, but this is a guy who has just elevated in the last year or two from a contender in street touring to someone who has been virtually dominant in everything he's gotten to this year. You've had an opportunity to see him drive much more this year than I have. What are you seeing from Tom O'Gorman?
The beginning of one of the best drivers that we've ever seen in the sport, honestly. He's not just his driving, but his attitude, his willingness to help others. We started having him instruct some with us last year, and he's just, honestly, he's a breath of fresh air, and not just kudos to Tom O'Gorman, but to Tom O'Gorman's parents for doing a hell of a job.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike. Well, we're back up and running. We appreciate your perspective, sir, and when we need you, we'll call. So back to F-Stock. Brian Burdett, your leader by 0.9 of a second over Robert Costa, and out on course now is Brian Grable in the Mustang, the GT350. Your margins in F-Stock are 0.9 advantage for Burdett, then a 1/10 back between Robert Costa and Michael Wood in 3rd, then Mark Snell, Jim Garton, and Mark Cornelius rounding out the trophies. Terry Baker knocking on the door, as is Casey Weiss. Don Knopp in 9th and Eric Lee in 10th. time in now for Brian Grable, a 58.1, but scored as a DNF. That's 2 DNFs in a row for Brian Grable. So, folks, somebody might want to grab him and see if we can figure out how to get a clean run in for him on the final run today, as Brian Myers will be next to finish in the 85 car. Myers is currently sitting in the 11th spot. He'd like to get into the 56s or 57s. No help, though. A 59.4. 59.4 for Brian Myers. Slows down by 7/10. Next to finish will be Robert Gosta in the Mustang. He's sitting in second. He would like to see a 56, a low 56, maybe our first 55. On course now is Dennis Healy, your fast scratch time from first runs in the Kevin Youngers Mustang. Here is into the finish. Gosta, he's in with a time of 59.1, but with cone, so no help for him. Don Knopp will be next to finish, and we may be out of order. So finishing now is the 97 car, 58.5. So the 97 car, Jim Garton now in with a 58.5. Next to finish will be Dennis Healy. Out of sequence. So this is Dennis Healy coming to the finish now as we have our sweep car. I'll get this sorted out for you in just a moment. Healy into the finish on a 57.7. He improves by a little bit. It's not as fast as his scratch, a 57.7 for Dennis Healy, and we're going to say that that's going to be about a 3-second improvement with the cones. So Healy slows down about a second, but picks up time with the loss of cones. All right, so we're looking at our results right now. So we'll come back to F-Stock in just a moment once we get that order sorted. Mike Wood, one of our F-Stock competitors, giving me a report that tire temps are already an issue in F-Stock. So even in these cooler conditions, all right, time. Now we're into A Street Prepared, ladies, and we're back to our correct order. So Mindy Cross out on course. She's sitting second in ASPL. Mindy back about 1.3 on Christine Grice. Both Grice and Cross coning their first runs this morning. So we're looking to see if one of these ladies can get it done clean. Lisa Berry also on course. She had a spin on her first run. She's looking punch for the trophy spots here. And Mindy Cross does take the lead on this run by 0.9 of a second, a 56.9 for Mindy Cross, your leader currently in A Street Prepared ladies. Next in will be Lisa Berry. Lisa, the younger sister of previous leader Christine Berry, driving the same car, a 56.7, and that is your new top time. Lisa Berry takes a 0.2 advantage over Mindy Cross, so it's Berry, Cross, Grice right now. Christine Grice outside looking in on the trophies. She was dirty on her first run. As we now have Haley Mahone coming to the finish now. Haley in the 06 Mitsubishi Evo. She needs to get a time in the books, and she does, a 57.8. Haley into the third spot. So Christine Grice with that cone on a backwards march through the field. We're going to see something from her on the second run, though, in just a moment. As Megan Contreras will be next to finish in the MR2. MR, not MR2. One more element for Megan. She's in with a 63.9, and she finds about a half a second. So a nice pickup there for Megan as we're into second drivers in F prepared. Can anybody close the gap to Tom O'Gorman? Brian Hayes has the first shot at it. He's in with a 53.7. That's good for the fourth spot right now. So Brian Hayes sitting in fourth in the Frankenstuck S2000. Next in behind Hayes will be Peter LeBlanc. Peter in the Boxster will pick up a cone on this run. He is in with a time of 53.842. 53.842 for Peter. And he has a cone on that run, so no help for him back in ninth. Michael Tews in the Datsun 240, a great sounding car, currently in the 10th spot. He would like to see a 55 or 54. He's into the finish with a 55.309. He picks up what would have been a 10th, or would have been a chunk, but loses it on a cone. So no help for him. He would have found a half a second on that run had he gotten it done clean. Nick Ryber will be next to finish in the MR2. Nick making his way to the finish. Alex Jones out on course in the Avon Shod Solstice GXP, the turbo car, one of the few turbo cars in the class this year. Nick into the finish with a 57.437 in the MR2. That's a nice pickup of him, 1.8 seconds. Can Alex Jones get into the 52s or low 53s? 52.5, game on. Alex Jones, 52.5. He cuts the margin to O'Gorman down to a half a second. So Alex Jones is looking to keep it in Ohio, but maybe take it to Pembertonville instead of Mason, as he has moved up within striking distance of Tom O'Gorman. I got Larry McLeod here. We're going to get a report from him in just a moment, as we have Jay Storm in a 53.6. Storm is in the trophies, 86 thousandths off the podium in the fourth trophy spot. On to F stock now. Curtis Staples into the finish next to the 117 car. Staples would like to get into the 50s if he can. Time in is a 58.807. A nice pickup for Curtis Staples. Finds 1.2 seconds as we await Eric Yee in that bright green Mustang down at the bottom end of the course. Eric is currently sitting, let's see, in 10th. He'd like to move up into the trophies. To get into the trophies in F stock, you've got to be in the 57s. So let's see if Eric can do it. Time in 58.9, not enough. He'll stay in the 10th spot. Mark Snell will be next to finish in the BMW. He's currently sitting in 4th. The German pony car showing that you don't have to have the trophy in F stock. Making his way through the final transitional section of this course. Snell into the finish line. Can he move up in the order of 57.3? And that is good for second. 8 tenths off of Brian Burdett. So it's Burdett by 8 tenths. Then Mark Snell, Robert Gosta, Michael Wood, Jim Garten, and Mark Cornelius rounding out the trophies. Terry Baker still sitting one out of the trophies. Michael Wood will be next to finish in the GT350, doing it Dean Sapp style, one-handed, 57.3 for Wood. He finds 2 tenths, moves into 4th, 5 thousandths behind Robert Gosta. So a nice tight pack there in 2, 3, and 4. The total margin 3rd to 4th is about a 10th of a second. Next to finish, this is Kevin Youngers. Can Youngers move back to the lead? A 56.5. It is not enough. 1/10 off of Brian Burdett. So Burdett and Youngers 8 tenths clear of the class, but only 1/10 separating them there in F stock. As we've got Christine Grice taken to the course, we're going to get a quick report from Larry McLeod.
Hey, we're a couple of things happening over on the East Course. First heat's done, and Mark Vanderschmidt's got the lead in B stock. You got Monfort with only 60 thousandths of a lead over Stephanie Reeves, so some close battles there in Super Stock Ladies. But in Street Mod front wheel drive, it's Chris Haydu with the lead. We're talking all day about Jinx Jordan, Andy Hollis. Well, it's Haydu with the lead, a couple tenths over Andy. Jinx would have had the lead, unfortunately. after all these issues, he had camber slippage, so they're doing alignments, taking mechanicals. He gets back out there, runs a scratch time that would have had the lead. Unfortunately, does pick up a couple of cones, so he's not going to really be in contention tomorrow. But the battle with Haydu over Andy Hollis is going to be an interesting one. And then as I'm walking up here, I happen to see Tom O'Gorman sitting here on his golf cart watching, and he feels there's still a little bit of time out there for him, that he may even made a mistake on his last run that didn't on scratch time cost him, but he's definitely going to be looking for it in his third run.
Speaking of looking for it, Christine Grice in with a 56-132. 56-132 for Grice. That is a 6/10 margin on little sister Lisa Berry. So it is an all Berry family racing show right now in A Street Prepared Ladies. Grice over Berry. Mindy Cross only 2/10 out of the trophies. In ASP Ladies, as we have our sweep car out on course. And folks, to give you an idea Grice is going, that's good for about 12th in F Prepared Open. So Christine Grice, a great time right there, but she is not the only show in that class. Both Cross and little sister Lisa Berry battling for trophy spots and possibly the win in A Street Prepared Ladies. Larry, we're hearing reports that that Sam Strano course may actually be faster and longer than it appeared to be when it walked. What were you seeing in Heat 1?
Yeah, a couple things. People were saying it actually drove faster than walked, which may be hard to believe, but it's definitely some high speed. Talking to Fannin Schmidt, your leader in B-Stock, he was going to third around the, well, we'll just call it the Porta Pot corner down at the south end. He was going to third, and then in S2000 CR going back to first. So he was doing the third to first downshift out there. There is definitely some speed. Some people were caught off guard, certainly in the first run. So if you haven't had the chance to look at that course, or if you're about to run it, keep that in mind. When I talked to Chris Haydu after his third run, he said that he was just out there under control. He had already coned a couple runs. He was looking to just get something tidy, and he found that tidy was it. Be on your marks, don't miss your marks, look ahead. And in fact, the man of the hour here who designed the course, Sam Strano, watching here on the west as opposed to watching his own. We'll talk to Sam a little later, I'm sure, unless he has. Yeah, we'll talk to him later. But here you go, Hayward.
All right, thank you, Larry. We are back up and running here in the west. Back to the top of the order in F Prepared. This is Garrett Mosler into the finish. Garrett finds a chunk of time. That is our third driver in the 52s, and Garrett Mosler into the second spot out of Greer, South Carolina. The www.frankenstuck.com S2000 52.8. That is going to be 3/10 off of Alex Jones, 8/10 off of Tom O'Gorman. So as we go through this class, it is tightening up.
Jay Storm's birthday is today.
Next to finish, Eric Davis, and I believe we have a timing error on Davis. A 33 is a smoking fast F Prepared time, so I'm going to assume that that time will disappear as Eric Davis scored with a 33.0. Federico Del Toro will be next to finish, and he's in on a 31, so we definitely have a sequencing issue on West Course timing. There's always wind here in Lincoln, and when there's wind and people, that generally means that there's hot dog wrappers moving through the lights. So we are going to have a couple of reruns here in F Prepared as Bill Goodale wisely holds the start for us as we get things sorted out. Getting a rerun on the third run here at Nationals can be tough. A lot of times you've got things dialed in, you're ready, you go out, you do your third and final, and you feel like that's it, and you're not mentally prepared for a fourth. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys react to that. I know a rerun on one or two can really feel like a gift to help get you ready for that third. But several of our contenders here in F Prepared will get a second look at the course for their third and final runs. So his second run's in the books in F stock. It looks like Brian Burdett by a 10th over Kevin Youngers. Then Mark Snell, Robert Gosda, Michael Wood, Jim Garton, and Mark Cornelius one spot out of the trophies. right, out on course right now. This is Tony Giardo, and this is the car that Dick Berger was talking about. This car was at the very first Solo Nationals back in 1973 in St. Louis. I'm sure it is not a 100%er car, I'm told, but I'm sure it's been at more than a few. Always in race car trim, interestingly enough. So time in now for Tony, a 60677, but +1, and also a DNF, so no help for him. He'll stand on his previous time. It would have been a 2-second pickup if he had done it clean. Darren Crozier will be next to finish in the RX-7. Darren making his way up through the finish section. Time in for Darren, a 59.8, and that is also scored as a DNF, it looks like. So maybe Tony wasn't a DNF and Darren was. I'm not sure. But either way, no helping for either driver on that run. Out on course now, your defending champion and F prepared Henry Bjorn in that beautiful yellow-orange BMW. As Donnie Bartolone comes in to finish at 55.9, a nice pickup for Donnie. Oh, I'm sorry, matching his previous time. So Donnie sitting in the 12th spot. Henry Bjorn so Henry Bjorn being called as a DNF, which is unusual, and he's coming in nice and easy through the finish, so that seems to be a correct report. Bjorn will sit in the 4th spot, but no better than 4th on day 1. On his first run, a 53.6 here, defending champion, not having the first day that he was really looking for. Next to finish will be Chris Ragland, warming the tires up for your second place holder, Alex Jones. But all eyes are on Tom O'Gorman through the showcase corner. Ragland improves by 0.4. He's up to 7th, 1 spot out of the trophies. Down on the bottom of the course, that is O'Gorman kicking a cone, so O'Gorman will not improve on this run. He's going to stand on his first. A lot of slip angle in the car through the finish, and the time in for O'Gorman, a 51.9. He would have found a 10th, but it was dirty. So O'Gorman leaving the door ever so slightly cracked for Alex Jones. Jones only 0.5 seconds off of O'Gorman. O'Gorman will stand on the first run. So the drama is building in F prepared as Ed George coming to the finish. Ed into the finish of 56.2. And he's going to find about 0.6 seconds. So a nice pickup there for Ed George. Rick Martinez now into the finish. The Texas driver trips the lights. He moves up a spot in the order on a 53.9. He finds 0.3 seconds. So that is a best time for Rick Martinez. And now we're back to the top of the order in F-Stock. Your leader is Brian Burdett, 1/10 over Kevin Youngers. Here's Terry Baker into the finish. He finds a 0.5 second, gets within 56 thousandths of the trophies, but not enough to move up. As next in will be Casey Weiss. Casey is also trying to get to the trophy. He's in that knot of drivers just outside of the trophies. A 57.6 will do it. He's got a 50. He gets exactly that and takes the final trophy spot. So the final trophy spot right now going to Casey Weiss. Lots of time left, lots of runs yet to go. We are in third runs, though, so that means we're looking for workers. So workers, please start checking in. You will check in before your course walks. So workers check in before course walks. As we are approaching the break between 2 and 3. Next to finish will be Frederick Pascal into the finish of 60.0. He improves by about 56 thousandths, but no real help on the clock. He's going to hold station there in the 16th spot. Next in the 65 car, that is Mark Cornelius in with a 58-2. And Cornelius slows down a little bit, so he's not going to be able to interrupt the trophy order. It is right now Burdett, Younger, Snell, Gosta, Wood, and Weiss, your trophies. Next to finish will be Dan in the 73 car. Dan, the man with a 58-7. And I don't think that's going to help him a whole bunch. He finds 26,000. Your leader, Brian Burdett, out on course. He has at least one cone on this run, so this will be a scratch time. Burdett looks very smooth through those transitions, just dipping the nose and on the throttle at 56.6. It would not have been any help anyway. He slowed down 0.2, so right now he is holding on to that 1/10 margin with second drivers yet to run as we move back over to F prepared. This is just a neat class, folks. F prepared. A lot of interesting cars, a lot of diversity at the front. It's a 72 914-6 leading a 2007 Pontiac Solstice, then a 2000 S2000, then a 98 328, and then a 96 Subaru. You have to go to the final trophy spot before you find a chassis repeated, and that's the S2000, as Eric Davis turns in a 57 984. 5.7 984 for Eric Davis, and a big tail out slide down at the bottom for Federico Del Toro as he enters, and another one coming to the finish, really kicking the tail of that Boxster. It looks good, but the clock is not a fan as he slows down a 54.9, so no help for him. He will do no better than 9th on day one, and he has a pretty good pad there back to the 10th spot, so we'll see if anybody can make that up. Lucas Anderson will be next to finish. These are reruns, it just occurred to me, from the timing errors before. A 56.7 for Lucas. He finds 1 full second, moves up a spot into the 14th spot. Brian Myers will be next to finish. Myers in the Ford Mustang. This is one of the 07 cars, the ESP Light car, as Mike Jr. Johnson refers to it. Time in for Brian Myers is going to be a 58.0. So a nice run there for him, keeping him, I believe, keeping him in the 10th spot. Next to finish will be Robert Gozda. Robert into the finish. And he is in with a time of 58.166. No help for him. He'll stand on his first run. We're seeing that a little bit here, folks. Getting it done on the first run, getting a good, clean run in, and then as they dial it up, things just don't hold together quite as well, and you see people start to move back. All right, here goes into the finish. Time in a 58.8. I'm sorry, that's Don Knopp into the finish. That was Don Knopp into the finish. Don in on a 58.0, and he's going to stand on his first run, the 58.6, so no help for Don. And we've got Dennis Healy. Folks, keep an eye on the 99 car. Dennis Healy, a very distinctive style. You really see the front of the car dip and dive quite a bit under braking. Very deliberate transitions in the car. Jim Garton in a 58.7 as Healy's coming up through that finish transition. We'll see if we see what I was talking about. A good dive of the nose and then just a quick decisive turn in and then back on the power. Really well driven through there. A 57.0 for Healy, and that will put him on the podium. He never got back to that scratch time. He ran a 56.5 on the first run, then a 57.7 and now a 57.0, but it's good enough for third, and it will keep him in contention for tomorrow. As we still have a third run to come from Kevin Youngers, but Brian Burdett on a 56.4 is your leader, and then Healy on the 57.0 rounding out the podium as we have a grid report from Keith Marks.
Yeah, just a little bit of action going on in the A Street Prepared ladies, watching as they're pushing the Grice vehicle back and forth trying to get it started just as the car before is getting sent, so it's like jumping into the last second, so that's kind of got to be a little nerve-wracking for her. I know she needs to get it done on this run, doesn't she, Hayward?
Christine actually took the lead back last run as we're moving into ASP Ladies. She was dirty on the first. She is leading her little sister Lisa by 0.6 of a second, and then 0.2 back to Mindy Cross out on course right now. How's FP looking? Is everybody still calm, cool, and collected over there?
Yeah, they're pretty quiet. They're just hosing down the Solstice a little bit on the radiator, and same thing they've been doing all day. They haven't made any changes, and said it feels good. Everything's strong out there, and so it's been pretty quiet for a prepared class.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right, A Street Prepared Ladies out on course. Mindy Cross. Mindy's driven a Mini for years. Made the transition last season to this boosted Street Prepared car, and she is +1 on a 56.4. It would have been to move her at second spot, but she's going to stand on the 56.9 right now, 0.2 behind Lisa Berry. Lisa down in that bottom corner. That's where she spun on the first run. She's through that clean. Up through the final transitions, time in for Lisa, a 56.4. So Lisa finds 0.2. She separates another 0.2 from Mindy Cross, and it's now within 0.3 of her sister. So it's Grice, 0.3 back to Barry, 4.4 back to Mindy Cross. Your top three right now in A Street Prepared Ladies. But we have not seen a time yet from Haley Mahone, and she's into the finish now in the silver ASP car. She's in on a 57.2, and she's going to close up within 0.3 of Mindy Cross. So those four ladies, first to fourth, are separated by 1.2 seconds. That is a really good battle in a class where I think a lot of folks expected to see a one-lady show. That is not the case. There's a really good competition going on here. Next to finish will be Megan Contreras. She's in the 5th spot right now in ASP Ladies. She would like to get an improvement on her previous time, and she does. A nice pickup for Megan. Finds 1.3 seconds in that MR2 on a 62.6. So a nice run there. And we're getting a report that there's an exhaust issue in MR2. Her crew, take a look at that. Brian Hayes in the Frankenstuck holding on to that final trophy spot. He slows down by 0.1 of a second, but stays in the trophies. As I see Nick Ryber out on course hitting a cone, so Nick is not going to improve. All right, all eyes on the 192. Alex Jones, the first year in the class, driving the boosted Pontiac Solstice GXP. Jones has done well with this car in A Street Prepared. First time for it in prepared class. The windshield is cut off. Out on course now, trying to run down Tom O'Gorman. He needs to find a half a second as Nick Ryber comes in at 58.8. Jones is clean through the second slalom into the second transition part of the course. Does a great job of getting behind the second cone there to straighten up the second part of that. Nice and tidy through that center section, through the 2-cone jog, and down the chute. He has 2 elements to go. Little tail out, tucks it into the 2-cone jog before the bottom 90. He's through the bottom 90, and now the finish section. This is where this car should really shine. Over and back, a little bobble, cost him there straight through the finish. Can he improve? He does not. A 53.3 for Jones. I think that bobble at the finish really did hurt him, and that's going to be a 0.5 margin to Tom O'Gorman tomorrow. We will talk about that in just a moment as we have Jay Storm coming to the finish now, and Jay is on a DNF. So Jay kicking the cone out from underneath the car, celebrating his birthday here at Solo Nationals with currently a 5th trophy in F Prepared. We'll see if any of these guys just off the pace can close in on that. Actually, he's the last driver in the class, I believe. We may see a couple of reruns, but right now it looks like Jay is going to stay in the trophies as Curtis Staples comes into the finish now in the Mustang, a 59.2 for Curtis out of Norfolk, Virginia. He's going to be in the 15th spot. He slows down a little bit. We're seeing a lot of folks slowing down here on their second and third runs, and that may be attributed to the heat in the tires. It may be just on a more technical course. A little bit of caution pays some dividends. So Eric Yee will be next to finish. Eric's on a +1. He's currently sitting in the 13th spot, so not likely to improve. In fact, he does not. Would have found a second, but no help with the cone. Mark Snell will be next to finish. He's in the BMW M3. Snell making his way into that bottom corner, and seeing a lot of variation in speed down there. The folks that get the two-cone jog right before the last corner lined up really seem to get a good punch down into that final turn, but not everybody is doing that. As the 159 car is in, Mark Snell is going to slow down a little bit. He'll stay in 4th place. Michael Wood next to finish. As I mentioned before, Wood had a bicycle accident and I believe dislocated a shoulder. Is getting some physical therapy, but he came to Nationals anyway, driving one-handed, doing it Dean Sapp style. And here is Wood, very clean through the finish. Nice clean lines, 57.7, and that will bump slow him down just a tick, so he'll stay in that final trophy spot. So it's Burdett, Youngers, Healy, Snell, Gazda, and Wood right now, but Youngers currently in second, needs to find a 10th. He's on course right now in the white Mustang, heading down the west side of the course, down to that bottom corner, as we've got Peter LeBlanc coming to the finish now in the Boxster. And Peter with a pretty big bobble right there at the finish. Looks almost like the car lost power for a second. A 54.6, improves by 1.1, but stays in 10th spot. Here is Youngers into the showcase corner. Again, he needs to find Kevin Youngers to take the lead. Needs a 56.420 or better to take over the lead from Brian Burdett. The margin right now is .166. They've got a half a second on Dennis Healy. Can Youngers separate on day one a 57.2 +1? No help. So another driver unable to improve on final runs. And your order in F-Stock will be Brian Burdett, Kevin Youngers, and Dennis Healy, your top three. The distance from Burdett to Healy is about 6.5 tenths. I like to mix decimals and fractions. And then Mark Snell, Robert Gazda, Michael Wood rounding out the trophies. But, folks, there is a battle for that final trophy spot as Casey Weiss, Terry Baker, and Jim Garden are all in striking distance. And actually it goes all the way back really to Mark Cornelius and Brian Myers, 10th and 11th. All of those guys can get to the trophies tomorrow. Out on course now, this is Christine Grice, and Christine is leading this class right now. And we're going to see if we've got any sisterly love in the Berry family as Christine picks up a cone. So it looks like her margin of 0.3 is going to stand for tomorrow. All right, Grice into the finish. One cone for Christine Grice, and she is in. The time was a 0.4 improvement, but no help with the cone. So your order will be Grice, Berry, Cross, Mahoney, and Contreras, your top five in A Street Prepared Ladies. 0.3 separating the Berry girls. You know, everybody talks about Christine with all the Pro Solo Championships, and she is a very, very fast driver. But little sister Lisa is showing that there's more than one Berry family racing daughter that can get things done out on course. Michael Two's into the finish, and that's going to put Michael into the 11th spot. He finds 0.6 of a second. I've got Mark Osgood here. Mark, tell me a little bit about what happened this morning. Actually, let me give an order in FP real quick. O'Gorman and Jones, 0.5 separation. Mosler back by 0.3. Bjorn back by 0.7. And then Jay Storm, 65 thousandths. Brian Hayes in the final trophy spot, and then Chris Ragland. We've got Mark Osgood here. Mark driving with Jason Collette in the X-Prepared S2000. That car did not return to its grid spot after your second run. Mark, talk us through what happened coming through and after the finish.
Well, I was on a good run,
came through the last offsets, halfway through, it felt like the car just started hitting the brakes. I pumped the brakes a couple times, and it kept slowing down. It wasn't going anywhere, so I had to pull off to the side, and it was a broken ball joint.
So there have been many, many stories over the years of folks helping out and pitching in. When I actually got on the golf cart with Dave O'Malley and went and found the parts, and when I came back, there was the expected cast of characters there. But I know you and Jason had a lot of help with that. Is there anybody you'd like to thank in getting the car back up and running?
Yes, all the Tennessee region, they just came over and just knocked it out as fast as you possibly could. Without them, we wouldn't have made our third run, so thank you so much.
Yeah, I actually posted a picture of Robert Thorne standing on the lug studs while Jason was underneath wrenching on it. So glad you guys got that resolved. Glad you got it back together. And have you taken a look over at the East? Is there something there for the S2000?
We hope so.
Well, good luck to you guys. Thank you for your time. I'm looking for, if I could get Tom O'Gorman and Alex Jones to walk this way. I see them speaking with each other.
Hey.
All right, I got Keith Marks walking up. Keith, let's talk a little bit about this heat before we move on to the cast of characters within it. A lot of folks slowed down as the heat went on. There were a lot of people that stood on their first times. A lot of people stood on their second times. Very few people. We didn't see a lot of changing there in the third and finals. Heat is a factor. The technical aspect of the course is a factor. What were you hearing from folks as they were getting out of the car in their third runs?
Well, there was seemed to be that for the DOTs there were starting to be some heat issues with the tires getting too hot, and then I actually saw some of the F-Stock guys scrubbing OPR off their tires. So that's going to be a big factor for the rest of the weekend as people are picking more and more of that up. But most of it I think was just they were pushing harder and running it out, and so. Not a lot of changes going on. I didn't see anybody changing out parts. Like I said, there was somebody that swapped their front tires to a little bit narrow or something so they wouldn't get so overheated, I guess. And but yeah, pretty quiet and not a lot of drama out there.
So it looks like we've got a foot race queuing up here at the start line as Bill Goodale is holding the tide back as we're getting ready to get into our afternoon course walk. We've got a couple of guys here we want to talk with if we could have from F Prepared. I want to start with Tom O'Gorman. So Tom, if you'll step up here and grab the wired mic from Keith. Obviously, there was a lot of attention put towards you on this. A lot of folks picked you to do well in this class. It's a very well-prepared car with a great history. Talk to me about what you were feeling coming into this. There's definitely a presence of pressure that this was going to be a year that you needed to get something done.
Yeah, I was just trying to think about how much fun I was going to have this week and not think about any of the driving at all. I didn't walk the course until 6 o'clock yesterday afternoon. I was just trying to think about how much fun it was going to be seeing everybody. I've been fighting off sickness since Friday, and I'm still not quite feeling all myself, but I didn't get the nerves until this morning, and they were definitely there this morning.
So rolling up to the line, there's no way you can convince me the nerves were going when you took off. That run looked solid, start to finish. The car looked great. Talk to me a little bit about how that car's feeling right now.
It is feeling 100% right now. We have the new tires on it. We had a rough weekend the weekend before. We were just running old tires, practicing shifting, all that stuff. These guys got us closer to my mouth. There we go. So we got the fresh tires on it. It's back to 100%. It feels really, really good.
And talk to me a little bit about the ownership of that car. You're driving the car solo here at Nationals. You do not have a co-driver, but this is actually a friend's car, correct?
Yeah, it's owned by Dave Montgomery. It was built by Ford All Motorsports, actually. It was a championship car in 2000 and 2001, owned by Leeds Gulick. Dave purchased the car this past year. He's been running it. He's decided to run an STS on Thursday and Friday because he thinks he's got a better shot of a championship. It's more fun to drive the 914, but you got to go for where you think you can win. So I think that was his thought process.
Well, excellent. Well, last thing I want to ask you, one of the themes of this heat is that folks seem to slow down run after run. Your times were extremely consistent, but you're standing on the first. Were there things with the course or the car or the temperature that caused, in your mind, not to see the time increase?
No, I think it was all driver. I think Alex outdrove me today. I made mistakes on my second run that cost me not to improve on my first run, which I had a big mistake on. And then my third run, looking at the data, could have had a lot more potential, but I missed a shift. I had a huge slide. I just couldn't get it done. So I think there was a lot more pace. I don't know where other people were struggling, but I definitely could have gone a lot faster if I had been together.
Yeah, we knew this was going to be a technical course when we walked it, and that's certainly proving to be true. Well, thank you for your time. I'll let you get back to impound as the good Dr. Jones steps up to the microphone. Alex, as mentioned, a lot of attention coming into this was on Tom and the Porsche. You guys are in a brand new, fresh built car, first time at Nationals, sitting in second spot. How are you feeling on that performance?
I can't believe it. Again, like you were asking Tom how he was thinking coming up to this day, and I was trying to tell myself this morning, I'm coming out, I'm gonna have fun. It's a learning year still. We'll see where we end up, and we know we've been slowly catching up to Tom throughout the year and stuff. But it was great.
So talk to me a little bit about this car. The top two cars in the class are the oldest and the newest, the 72 914-6 and the 2007 Pontiac Solstice. You guys see each other a lot. How competitive, what kind of advantages do these cars have over each other?
Well, looking at Tom's car, or Dave's car, it digs out of corners great. It's got that naturally aspirated power right off the line. So those real tight turns is where he can just take advantage of us. We have an advantage of we have a little more power high up, and like our second gear goes to 72 while his goes to like 58 or something. So we're not shifting as much. So like maybe on this course over here, we'll have an advantage. Maybe he'll be able to dig out of those tight turns a lot better than us.
So let's talk a little bit about that course tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to see a little bit less technical in places, a little bit more of a power-friendly course. You're about a half a second back from Tom. Are you thinking you have an opportunity here? Are you licking your chops a little bit, looking at the Sam Strano course? Or anytime you run against Tom O'Gorman, there's just no comfort?
Well, obviously there's no comfort there, but I look at the straights, and I love those, but then I look at these tight, more than 90-degree turns, and I cringe at those. So
it'll be a battle tomorrow, and you guys put in a great performance. Both drivers from the state of Ohio, same region?
No, Northwest Ohio region, and I believe he's Cincy region.
So both drivers from the state of Ohio see each other throughout the year. Great performance in F Prepared. Thank you guys for your time, and I'll let you head on back to impound, and I'll bring Keith up to talk a little bit about the F-Stock battle in this heat. So F-Stock right now, I believe we have Youngers up about a tenth on Brian Burdett, and if we can find Brian Burdett or Kevin Youngers, I'd much rather have Brian Burdett. He's a lot easier to work with. Larry McLeod is here from Yonder course, and I see Miata's out on course, so that tells me E-Stock and CSP must be running. CSP, the story there, Scott Frazier, your 2012 Driver of the Year, defending national champion, leaves his NA 1990 Miata at home. It's actually Tom Kubo's, and jumps into an NC, which is the new model. So a big change in weight and a big change in dimension. Scott, truly one of the most talented drivers in the sport. We had a go-karting night at the National Convention last year when he was getting the award, and I'm going to I would bet David Santel was just over here a minute ago. He probably has the numbers, but I would bet that Frazier was 50 to 60 pounds heavier in the cart than the lightest lightweight, and still put a tremendous margin on the field. Yeah, he's 1.8 to 1.9 decimos, and I think that Santel is about a decimo. So it was significant. So we're waiting on some results from over there, and it looks like Brian Burdett is walking this way, and my Solo Matters grid guy is doing his job and wrangling folks in, and I'm seeing a big smile on Brian's face. So I don't know that 1/10 of a second is anything to be super comfortable about, but definitely did not hurt himself today. The course is open for walking, and I have not been given a close time. If Bob Tennell could drift this way and let me know what the close time is, we'll get that announced. He does not know either. So, Brian, F-Stock, 10th advantage over Kevin Youngers. What was going through your head when you saw the first run from Dennis Healy?
That actually, it really shocked me because I'm new to F-Stock actually, and so I don't know a lot of the names. And he is, you look at the sports car, and he wasn't really someone who was mentioned. So when I saw the time, I said, wow, I need to go a whole lot faster. Even though it was a scratch time and dirty, if you can do it dirty, probably do it clean. So that was the thought anyway.
Now, we all knew that you and Kevin were going to have a battle coming into this class, and Dennis kind of the surprise. What did you find on course? Did this course favor the 5-liter cars?
I think it did because there are more full throttle pulls than I thought there'd be. Plus the slaloms, I think the 5 liters transition better. The Shelbys will sweep better. But there just wasn't as much of that. There were everything felt very transitional in this course, and the pulls definitely helped the power of the 5-liter.
And it's a little bit smaller class this year than we've seen in the past, but still the competition is there. There's a fierce battle at the front. What does it feel like for you? You've been to nationals probably about as long as I have. You're leading at the end of day one. You're going over to a course that you've probably seen similar elements from before. You've driven Sammy courses before. How are you feeling right now going into day two?
I've always felt that it doesn't matter what you do on the first day. You need to win both days, and that's what it feels like. I'm in a good position, but that's all. Nothing is of course final, and I just need to go out and drive well in that course, and I've walked it exactly once, so I really don't know it very well yet. So I've got a busy evening ahead of me.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on a great starting point, and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, we're 15 minutes away from the close of course walking. 15 minutes away from the close of course walking. You got anything? All right, we're going to step away for just a moment, and the course will be closing for walking at, we're going to call it 12. It's got to be clear at 12:30. Bob, you want to give them 17? 17. It says 12:30 will be our close time, and I'm not saying that was a self-serving decision, but Bob Tennell is the last person on the course walk right now, so we want to clear the course at 12:30, and we'll be back up and live about 12:20.